Again, this is Carl Alfred with YLN TV, and today I'm here with Jesse, the Jessies. That's Kathleen and Ed, and they have a very interesting story that ties into Randy Dew, judicial corruption that we're looking into. A lot of this information is going to be taken and turned over as evidence to the FBI, but for now, let me just introduce these two and let you know that they have been the subject of a criminal enterprise here like nothing you have ever heard before. And Kathleen, I want to thank you for inviting me and Joaquin into your home. Now, this isn't your, or wasn't your original home, now was it?
No.
No.
But the property that was your home, was it close by?
About 3 miles from here.
3 miles? Okay.
Yes.
And can you tell the people, you and Ed, just go ahead and start telling people your story as far as what happened to you in the past, I don't know, several years concerning the interaction you had with the government in this case? And I'll back off and let you guys talk.
Well, we visited with a man on an estate plan, and so we began to try to search out someone to help us, and we found somebody in Lincoln, and he suggested we get someone closer to the situation. So we went to the Keneally in Chadron, Keneally and Colors, and they began to set us up with a plan, and it has just turned into a can of worms.
The plan that you're talking about, was that some sort of trust or a plan because both of you are getting older and you wanted to make sure that the children had something of the estate when you passed on?
That's true.
Yes.
And Ed had a seizure, and that scared us. It has turned out medicine very easily has taken care of the problem. But that scared us, and we thought we needed to get something done on it. So Keneally set up a plan and we deeded the land to our son, Lance. But it was to be with a life estate, and that was never done. Then they went and the land was separate, and then the corporation was a separate entity, and that included the cattle, the machinery, everything else that we owned. And so then they went and set up a corporation which they gave Lance, our son, 250 shares, and gave Ed and I 250 shares. That was exactly half of the shares. There was 1,000 shares. So that would be a problem in the first place, but we thought that we had 2/3 of the shares. And when it come about, the Keneallys kept 500 of the shares.
How is that possible? How can they possibly keep 500 shares of 1,000 outstanding to what? I don't understand. How could they possibly do that?
We don't know either, and they never explained to us what we could do with the shares. Later, we were told that we could have given some of the shares to someone else, but we didn't know that. We never were told that. Well, so then we went to, after some court hearings, we went and demanded our papers, and they refused to give them to us, although we paid thousands of dollars to have the estate planning done. They refused to give us our papers. So we went to great length to get the papers. After a court hearing in Alliance, we went up there with a friend. We proceeded to, we talked to a highway patrol, we talked to the sheriff, we talked to a judge, we went to the police department, and no one would go with us to demand them to get our papers.
And this it starts off sounding like there was some sort of premeditation involved here. Is it possible that somebody else had designs on your property that you were unaware of? Because that's last time I checked, when somebody deeds property or whenever somebody creates a trust, they get all of those trust documents as soon as that is done in one nice, neat little bundle, including what the shares are, where they go to. And you're telling me that they never provided that information to you?
No,
No.
they didn't.
And they also changed the shares. They draw the line through them, Took-
Wrote canceled
canceled.
across.
And can they do that? It's
We went
not in the
in-
laws that they can do that.
We went into the bookkeeper because we took her a copy of our shares and she had a copy. So when we got this one with the line through it that said canceled, we compared it with hers. She said, it's not on mine. She says, how can they do this without even an initial? They didn't.
I've never heard of anything quite like this before, so.
We have the papers, proves it.
And again, that's, now I've done corporations before and for myself, and every time that has been done, I take my wishes to the accountant, lawyer, or whomever is forming this corporation. In your case, it's a trust, I assume.
Well, part of,
Living will, maybe?
I'm not sure how it ended up.
This was in a trust.
Yeah, just this piece that we're on right now was put in a trust. And
Okay.
that's the only reason that they don't have it too, is there was 10,000 acres there and there's 2,200 acres in this. And we kept this in a trust for the other children, and Lance had the other 10,000 acres in a deed. Was supposed to be with Life Estate, but
This 40 acres was bought later, or given to us later. It's the 2,000 acres that's down there that was in the trust.
yeah.
Well, the web that seems to be being woven here is pretty dastardly. All I know is that there's a paper trail, and that paper trail is
There's a
supposed to
paper
lead
trail.
directly to what your original wishes were, and it sounds like that no way, shape, or form did the original wishes that you had put forward ever materialize.
No.
And now you were in a situation where you had to backtrack and kind of undo what was done, is that?
That's
Okay.
correct. Yes.
So the process of undoing what was done is where this story really has its beginning, is it not?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Terry Curtis, that's in Alliance here, he started visiting with the estate planning people, and even Mr. Colors, he said, let me call Terry Curtis and we will quickly do an irrevocable trust on this. No way. We dealt with an irrevocable trust before, and there's no way. So, and it just escalated. We had a lawyer to begin with, and he started working with Curtis and working behind our back and sending him the papers before they sent them to us. We fired that lawyer, and then we got a hold of a civil rights person in Oklahoma, and he tried to help. He thought it would stop when it got to the feds, and they called it RICO. Nothing worked. And then I had cried all day because another court was coming. We've had like 10 to 12 courts, and so after Carl didn't know what to do anymore, then we were just hung. We didn't know what to do. We were at another court, and we were on our way home back to Alliance, and we heard a radio station, and Randy Dew was on the radio station, and he was talking about the Clean Things thing, and our court was coming up again in about 4 days. And so we called the radio station and said, who was this guy, and do you suppose he could help us? And they said, he says, you call him right now. And I said, I've cried all day. I can't handle it anymore. I can't. And so he says, you call him right now. So between broken tears, I called him. And he said, I'll do what I can. So he sent some papers, and of course the court just rolled over us again, like usual. It's broke. The judicial system is broke. Every judge has been a lawyer before he became a judge. And when you get into court, they all stick together. Believe me, they stick together. And we're just nobody, and they just bow over you. And until we met Randy, he kept firing all these papers to the governor, to the attorney general, to the court administrator. It was endless. To the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. We've got 2 years of paper trail of all this to no avail. And we're hoping that something can be done here soon, because I think they want you either to go crazy and end up in what we called in Montana Warm Springs, or they want you to be so discouraged that you quit. And we're not quitting, because we worked for 53 years to pay for our ranch and our cattle, and we had everything paid for. Our land was paid, our cattle was paid, our machinery was paid. We had $87,000 in the bank, the first time in our entire life we had money in the bank to start the next year. And then they ordered this receiver to come in, and he went and took all of our money out of the bank. And then they kept ordering us to get a lawyer. With what? We tried to get a lawyer. And $50,000 to $75,000 is what they asked to start with, and said, we can't guarantee that we can help you.